All right, everyone, the paradigm shift is continuing. The LA Times, now the LA Times is a little bit out there, but they normally wouldn't say basically screw the Democratic Party because of the form and function with which it's operating. They've come out now and said, basically they're telling the Democrats, please become an actual liberal party because the centrists, the people who are currently running it, they're not liberals. Now, there are two things that we have to look at here. The first is that isn't it a very funny claim that somebody like Feinstein, who wants to abolish blogging if you don't have a journalism degree, thinks that people should have no guns whatsoever and has stated so multiple times, wants to increase the tax rate substantially, is a total global oligarchist. Isn't it strange to think that the establishment Democrats like a Feinstein, a Pelosi, or a Schumer are now considered centrists by the left? They don't consider them left-leaning anymore. They consider anyone to the right of Bernie Sanders to be a centrist. They even went after Bernie Sanders because he didn't take up the abolish ICE line. They're like, well, shame on you, you're not a real leftist anymore. We're kicking you out of our club. This is literally unhinged. It makes Trump's job, by the way, easier. Now, this article is both right and completely wrong and lacking self-reflection. It is correct that the boring establishmentarian Democrats running the DNC are inept, and they have led to the problems that are happening within the party. The Tom Perez's, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Dianne Feinsteins, the Chuck Schumers, the Clintonians, even the Obamas to an extent. They're out of touch. Obama helped lay the groundwork. His ignorance of middle America is primarily why the Rust Belt went red, because the Obama recovery that helped urban areas, which already are heavily left-leaning, didn't extend to small-town America in all cases, especially within the Rust Belt. Obama set the stage. Clinton comes up, runs a 90s-era campaign. The DNC, basically coronates her without any competitive process, comes out looking corrupt, depresses voter turnout. The rest is history. That's why you got Trump. However, at the same time, the LA Times or anyone else suggesting that the Democrats magically oust Trump and become good again because they go far left is nuts. You'd probably have even less of a vote share. It's exactly a microcosm of when I was talking about the differentiation between Clinton and Sanders. I said that if Sanders had been nominated, I diverge from some people, both on the right and on the left, and many independents like myself on this. I don't believe Sanders would have won. I think he may have done better, he may have retained parts of the Rust Belt, but his message would not have resonated with certain other parts of the Democratic coalition, namely the centrists. They would have looked at him and said he was a wackadoodle. Now, maybe not now that they're trying to drag the entire party far to the left, but when people are going around throwing piss bottles at police and staging yell-ins where they clutch their pink hat and just shriek in a primal manner, what do you think that does for maybe some 40 or 50-something middle American, like working-class unionist Democrat? They're like, hell, fuck this, I'm voting Republican. That's what happens. My best guess is this, and this isn't an official prediction because it's so vague and potentially far in the future we can't tell yet, but my best guess would be this, as far as the future movement of the Democratic coalition. I think that after either the midterms or 2020, they basically crash and burn. Because if they don't do well in the midterms, it might happen sooner. If they do well in the midterms, they probably lose 2020 anyway at this point. They're not looking too able. And turnout alone, I've got to talk about that later during midterm banter, the main video of the day, because it looks like the lamestream media is beginning to get nervous that Trump is going to cause massively higher GOP turnout among the core, thus supplanting the Democrats' no blue wave, in other words. I happen to concur that that's a likelihood. Not necessarily a guarantee, but at least somewhat likely. I think the Democrats crash and burn. And temporarily, for a cycle or two, you see the far left gain more dominance. The centrists will sort of bow and kiss ring, and they'll give the actual left what they want. This may also cause some center Democrats to defect to the Republican Party or to third parties, by the way. When it becomes clear that the far left is not capable of governing, when it becomes clear that the far left is not capable of mounting a campaign because it has alienated all of the main donors of the party, when it becomes clear that they are even more violent and abusive than they were before now that they've gotten into power and that they're beginning to act like communist revolutionaries, they will get their asses kicked back out of the party, and they'll get supplanted by the blue dogs, essentially. That is, the centrists can't govern. The social justice warrior so-called progressives, which is really socialists, can't govern. Who's left in the Democratic coalition? The blue dogs. Middle class and working class, Democrats, leaving behind some of the wedge issues, not going after the guns and taxes. They will become more like the party of JFK. Well, yeah, you can win elections now. They're the ones you should have stuck with the whole time. You never should have wined and dined the far left. You should have kicked them out of your coalition to the Green Party, and you wouldn't have lost the Rust Belt. See, the Democrats made a miscalculated decision to play nice with the further left and ignore maybe a Jim Webb or somebody like that. In public, they were trying to play nice with the far left. The problem is, you've already alienated them. You shafted Bernie Sanders. You've continuously obstructed these people that are actually leftists. Not looking good for your chances. They're probably going to defect parties unless you crash and burn and then give them the reins of power to some degree. You'll have to make them your whip, so to speak. It would be difficult. The Republicans don't have that problem. They've already found their man, which is Donald Trump. He's gluing the party together. He's capable of going to a crowd of evangelicals, and then going to a crowd of neocons, and then going to a crowd of libertarian-leaning Republicans, and he's capable of talking to all three, and he can get things accomplished, and they don't viscerally hate him. The Never-Trumpers are just a small slice of the neocons that are in bed with people like the Bushes that Trump didn't get along with. He blamed them for Iraq, said it was a bad idea, laid waste to Jeb Bush. They wanted to coronate him, didn't work out so well. The fact is that the Republicans showed that it's possible for a maverick to literally disgrace your entire establishmentarian body, and you can still win the election. And then you can go on to the midterms where supposedly your party's being led by Hitler, and you can still prevail in those too. That's what I think happens. I still say, based on the polling I see, there's a good chance the GOP makes gains in the Senate, mild gains, and retains the House. That's my best guess, based partially on my expectation of turnout. There's no issue that the Democrats can use to increase their turnout with... Look, you can increase the centrist turnout, but then the far left probably doesn't vote. You can increase their turnout, but you'll alienate millions and millions of middle class, like union Democrats. What are you supposed to do? You can't get along with the whole coalition. Meanwhile, all Trump has to say is MAGA, and the crowd goes wild. Little bit different now, isn't it? The paradigm shift will continue for some years to come. This is why I've said short-term pessimism with regards to alt-media and alt-tech and things like that. We will continue to be suppressed by the powers that be, the establishmentarians that don't like us. And it's not, well, oh, the far left hates you. The neocons hate you. No, it's just the establishment, people who have been in power and have too much money. That's literally all it is. They don't really have any hard set beliefs. But the far left isn't the group for the job to replace the centrist Democrats. Do you honestly think that the multi-billion-dollar money Democrats would allow that anyway? It's impossible for the far left to actually take over the party. Trump managed to hoodwink the party in part because he bluffed at first and pretended it was a reality show, and they acted too late to stop him because he had already built up momentum. He made it sound like a joke until around the time of South Carolina when he said, no, I'm in it to win it. And then they said, well, shit, he's going to win Nevada. He wins 3 out of the first 4. He's the only one with momentum. Ted Cruz is too much of an evangelical to be nominated and isn't even eligible because he was born in Canada. So what are we supposed to do? There's nothing that they could do. They tried to throw up Rubio at the 11th hour, as though that's really going to help. Kasich out of nowhere. He wins 1 state. Not going to happen. The Democrats are the ones that are suffering. My advice to the far left is to leave them and let them crash and burn. They're going to replace you if they ever give you any power anyway. They're not going to be able to deal with you because you're going to alienate the same corporations they've been sucking the teat of for the last half century. Do you think that they want to give up their multi-billionaire backers? Those backers, they'll probably form their own dedicated party. I mean, they're not going to be able to control the GOP. Trump doesn't want their money because he realizes it's a political liability. He doesn't even want their money at this point. He literally, at the fucking debates there, was rambling about how he hated the donor class, of which he used to be a member, so he's, acutely aware of the fact that they're slime bags. Yeah, the Democrats are the ones with problems right now, not the Republicans. The Republicans may very well, in the next paradigm, slowly, as they, have too much power, they'll be corrupted too, probably. But it's not even clear the Democrats will survive the paradigm shift. I mean, they're so boring and so schismatic and out of touch. Unless they tread carefully, they might achieve minor party status, get replaced by someone else. You might have a viable green or libertarian movement, or a fusion, or a dedicated independent front that just says, well, we're going to not take corporate money. We've got a few platforms. It'd be like UKIP or something. You could have that within the United States, absolutely. That's about all. Peace out.